Though he may be among the most laid-back country music stars in the world, Grammy Award-winning Alan Jackson has managed to keep his family life somewhat hidden and away from public view. Jackson's daughter seems to have spilled the tea lately, though, as she reveals this well-kept family secret that caused a great emotional reaction from her father. While some supporters may have suspected all along, for the rest of us this is just one major news item to process. So get ready, since in this video we will unveil what the Jackson family has kept secret all this time. Early life. Looking into Alan Jackson's early life, one may easily see the sources of the ideas and heart of his songs. Born in Noonan, Georgia, in 1958, and raised in his grandfather's tool shed, Alan's modest background had a major impact on his work and somewhat defined his music. His songs usually have it audible in them. That simplicity and appeal exist. The songs cover fundamental life themes including love, faith, and the shared experiences we all go through. Jackson's mother was a dietitian and committed housewife. His father was a mechanic. His mother made sure the singer and his 4 elder sisters grew up surrounded by faith while his father kept the household operating with his meager income. Jackson's music was much influenced by that element as well, particularly in the early years of his career when he was more of a gospel vocalist. Like many outstanding musicians, Jackson started singing when he was a little child. It is natural to assume this. That was hardly the case, though. Jackson's musical journey started outside of his house. He hardly began to sing at all until much into his teenage years. And when he did start, it was not directly into country music. His taste was in gospel songs. Then Jackson was poised to start creating waves in the music business with the help of his high school love, Denise Jackson, who subsequently became his wife. He was touring with Dixie Steele at the time. Jackson and Denise packed and relocated to Nashville in 1985 after he made the decision to enter music full-time, and this was when fate intervened to guide the vocalist toward the top. Denise saw country music legend Glenn Campbell at an airport while employed as a flight attendant. She didn't spend any time telling Campbell her husband's musical aspirations, as she was a devoted wife to Jackson and a dream believer. She clarified how Jackson was trying to establish himself and how truly he might benefit from whatever assistance he could find. What Denise told Glenn piqued his interest, and he decided to assist by providing her with his contact card. Jackson soon enough developed relationships with the manager and song publishing company of the venerable singer. Arista Records signed him in 1989 as the first performer under their country branch. At this turning point in Alan's career, one could begin to wonder if his marriage suffered as a result of his journey to fame. It's rather normal. On the journey to stardiness, the young wife supports her husband. The spouse gains notoriety, then cheats and moves on from her, discounting all her labor. Could this be what his daughter has lately exposed to the world? Rise to stardom. Looking into Alan Jackson's early life, one may easily see the sources of the ideas and heart of his songs. Born in Noonan, Georgia, in 1958, and raised in his grandfather's tool shed, Alan's modest background had a major impact on his work and somewhat defined his music. His songs usually have it audible in them. That simplicity and appeal exist. The songs cover fundamental life themes including love, faith, and the shared experiences we all go through. Jackson's mother was a dietitian and committed housewife. His father was a mechanic. His mother made sure the singer and his 4 elder sisters grew up surrounded by faith while his father kept the household operating with his meager income. Jackson's music was much influenced by that element as well, particularly in the early years of his career when he was more of a gospel vocalist. Like many outstanding musicians, Jackson started singing when he was a little child. It is natural to assume this. That was hardly the case, though. Jackson's musical journey started outside of his house. He hardly began to sing at all until much into his teenage years. And when he did start, it was not directly into country music. His taste was in gospel songs. Then Jackson was poised to start creating waves in the music business with the help of his high school love, Denise Jackson, who subsequently became his wife. He was touring with Dixie Steele at the time. Jackson and Denise packed and relocated to Nashville in 1985 after he made the decision to enter music full-time, and this was when fate intervened to guide the vocalist toward the top. Denise saw country music legend Glenn Campbell at an airport while employed as a flight attendant. She didn't spend any time telling Campbell her husband's musical aspirations, as she was a devoted wife to Jackson and a dream believer. She clarified how Jackson was trying to establish himself and how truly he might benefit from whatever assistance he could find. What Denise told Glenn piqued his interest, and he decided to assist by providing her with his contact card. Jackson soon enough developed relationships with the manager and song publishing company of the venerable singer. Arista Records signed him in 1989 as the first performer under their country branch. At this turning point in Alan's career, one could begin to wonder if his marriage suffered as a result of his journey to fame. It's rather normal. On the journey to stardiness, the young wife supports her husband. The spouse gains notoriety, then cheats and moves on from her, discounting all her labor. Could this be what his daughter has lately exposed to the world? Staying true to himself. There is no doubt that Jackson's songs were fantastic. Yet, it was not simply his music that made him a superstar in the eyes of his followers. Rather, it was his personality and the things that he appeared to exemplify. During a time when fame began to transform people in ways that were beyond comprehension, Jackson remained true to who he was. Despite the fact that many country musicians began to explore mainstream music in the 2000s, Jackson was not persuaded by this trend. He, on the other hand, did not deviate from his honky-tonk direction. Murder on Music Row, another major successful song, was released by him in collaboration with George Strait. It was as if he was trying to convey to his followers that he would continue to be a part of the country music scene. The song was later performed by the duet at the Country Music Awards, much to the joy of Jackson's fans all around the world. Jackson was a vocalist who performed in a very traditional style. In addition to George Strait, he also collaborated with other legends in the recording industry, including Randy Travis, Jones, and Jimmy Buffett. He produced a great deal of music that was his one-of-a-kind rendition of the works of other musicians. His album, Under the Influence, which was published in 1999 and was influenced by the music of performers such as Charlie Pride and Merle Haggard, is one example of this. The manner in which Jackson responded to the events of September 11th is just another indication of the fact that his personality has been represented in his music, which may have also been responsible for winning the hearts of his followers. The album Where Were You When the World Stopped Turning was written and published by Jackson after the horrific occurrence. The musician expressed his feelings by expressing a variety of responses to the tragic situation that occurred in the song. What were you doing when the world came to a halt? Turning was able to garner a great deal of attention and was awarded approximately 4 different accolades, including Song of the Year at the Country Music Association Awards and Best Country Song at the Grammy Awards. Family Life and Secrets, Jackson. Beneath the Cowboy Hat. As time goes on, we are getting closer and closer to it. Jackson is a straightforward and laid-back family man who never lets his profession to interfere with his home life. He is a family man who takes his family life very seriously. Even though he did not start singing when he was very young, his mother was eager to lend her support when he eventually began his adventure in the world of music. She was affectionately referred to as Mama Ruth, and she exerted a great deal of work in order to assist the young teenage artist in developing his skills and providing him with support while he was writing songs and making his gospel music. Because she had such a significant influence on his life and career, he decided to create his first gospel album, titled Precious Memories, as a present for his mother on the occasion of Mother's Day. Due to this particular reason, he did not make the record available for purchase by retail establishments until the year 2001. After some time had passed, he released his second gospel album, which was titled Precious Memories 2, His Childhood, His Grandfather's Tool Shed, which became their house, his parents, and his upbringing were all topics that were covered in the songs that were included on the CD. The year 2013 saw the publication of this second release. It was also for the funeral of his mother that he composed a song called Where Her Heart Has Always Been, a marriage that is in jeopardy. The life of Jackson was not made up entirely of roses and thorns. In comparison to the challenges that the famed singer encountered in his married and family life, growing up in a tool shed and losing his mother at the age of 86 were rather minor occurrences. The marriage that he had with Denise was fraught with difficulties, despite the fact that the couple gave the impression of being in love with one another, and that Denise played a significant role in Jackson's professional success. The couple has had to contend with a number of challenges in their marriage. The first time the couple ever met was while they were both still in their early teens. Jackson was 18 years old, while Denise was only 13 years old. They did not let this prevent them from beginning a relationship with one another. Jackson and Denise had been dating for almost 3 years before Jackson decided to enroll in high school and be married to Denise. Discuss the concept of young love and the kind of high school romance that could care less about anything else in the world. After the young couple had finalized their marriage via the sacrament of holy matrimony, they made a significant move to Nashville. Given that Denise's maiden name was also Jackson, it is important to note that she did not have to change it. Almost immediately following this transfer, Jackson was signed to a record label, and fame began to come calling. The couple, however, became parents for the first time to a girl named Maddie, and their family started expanding as they began their trek to popularity. The singer's first studio album, titled Here in the Real World, was released in the same year that Maddie Denise Jackson was born. The couple welcomed their second daughter, Alexandra Jane Jackson, who they affectionately referred to as Jane Ali, around 3 years later. In conclusion, there was Danny Grace Jackson, who was born in 1997, which was 4 years after the previous year. Towards the conclusion of that year, the couple was confronted with problems that they were unable to instantly resolve, which ultimately resulted in their decision to part ways. It was not to be the end of Jackson and Denise's marriage, however, as they finally reconciled with the assistance of a marital counselor who specializes in the field of marriage counseling some months after the initial disagreement. Despite the fact that Jackson did not share any concrete facts of his separation, he did release a song that was inspired by the event. Remember, When was the name of the song? And the music video featured Jackson and his wife dancing together. Claims of infidelity. You made a correct guess, didn't you? Then again, you shouldn't be so sure. We are still in the dark about what Alan's daughter was talking about, and the story has not yet come to a conclusion. But before we get into it, let us get started with the publication of Denise's book, It's All About Him, Finding the Love of My Life, which was published in 2007. The truth that led to Alan and Denise's divorce in 1997 was eventually revealed. This revelation came many years after the fact. She disclosed in the book that her husband had cheated on her because he was unfaithful, and that this was one of the primary factors that contributed to the breakup of their marriage. She revealed everything, including the fact that Jackson had extramarital affairs and stated that he desired a divorce, as well as the fact that she had to endure the rigors of the media and people, calling her disparaging names and claiming that she was manipulative and controlling. However, Denise did mention that it was her religion that provided her with the strength to get herself out of the chaotic environment. It was after she had dropped off her children at their dance classes that she recalled a particular instance in which she was at her lowest point. She couldn't help but cry out to God as she was sitting in the car by herself, pleading with him to take charge of her life and marriage. Denise claimed that she experienced an immediate sense of calm, despite the fact that the problems were not healed until around 2 months after the spiritual meeting when she had the experience. During her conversation, the mother of 3 also discussed how, when she was a teenager, she had aspirations that were similar to those of Cinderella. She had the misconception that she was a princess who would be rescued by a Prince Charming so that she could live a life that was straight out of a fairy tale. He has come to the realization that life is not quite a fairy tale and that things will not always go as you wanted them to. This realization came about as a result of her experiencing the heartbreak that nearly caused her marriage to fall apart. Even though she was married to a wealthy and well-known man, this was not the only thing that mattered to her. In the end, she made the observation that the faith of an individual is what matters, and that the love of God is more significant than anything that this world has to offer or anything that any man could give. Be sure not to overlook the fact that she mentioned that the song and the title of her book, All About Him, was about God and not about her spouse. The purpose of the book was to encourage couples or intended pair couples who may be going through something similar or any other kind of problem in their relationships by sharing her story and providing them with motivation. Cancer and other health battles. In the midst of the couple's joyous celebration of their newly redeemed marriage, they were confronted with an even more formidable obstacle. After Denise was diagnosed with cancer in 2010, Denise and Alan were confronted with yet another significant challenge in their relationship. Denise characterized this as the worst news she had ever received in her life, and it came as an even greater surprise to her than the divorce itself. Denise received a phone call informing her that she had colorectal cancer when she and her husband were on vacation to celebrate their wedding anniversary. In the beginning, the wife of the musical superstar went to the hospital to complain about any strange bleeding that she was experiencing. On the other hand, she was not anticipating something so serious when she was requested to perform certain tests. Not to mention the fact that Denise and Jackson had to go back to their homes in order to seek the assistance of specialists, which resulted in the holiday being cut short. Fortunately for them, just like they were able to overcome the difficulty of their separation, they were also able to triumph over the obstacle of Denise's complete victory over cancer with the assistance of chemotherapy and radiation treatments. The treatment center was stressful for her, but her husband Jackson was there with her, offering all of his support and love. She also mentioned how he cared for her during the lengthy and rigorous course of her therapy. She talked about how the treatment center was daunting. Regarding this matter, Jackson stated that it was a challenging time, and he truly felt the significance of the famous wedding vows that read, "For better or for worse," at that period of time. He disclosed that at that time, he had the impression that his entire life was centered on keeping the promise he made during his wedding, and he made every effort to do so. At this point, even his daughters have mentioned that their father made sure to maintain his strength despite the fact that he was also supporting their mother. Additionally, Jackson made a comment about how the disease altered their perspective of the world and how they now have a better understanding of what is significant and what is not. He added that the event prompted them to conduct a complete reassessment of their life. Having the goal of simplifying their lives and spending more time together, the couple moved ahead and sold off a significant number of their assets. It should come as no surprise that Jackson was once again motivated by this event to compose a song that he titled "When I Saw You Leaving for Niecy." This particular song was included in his album titled 30 Miles West, which was released in the year 2013. Alan stated in an interview that the song was both for him and for his wife. He said that the song was written for both of them. In addition, he expressed his belief that the song had the potential to assist individuals who were going through experiences that were like to his own. There have been a few situations in which Jackson has discussed his wife. At one point in time, when he was presented with the 2022 CMA Willie Sun Lifetime Achievement Trophy, he paid gratitude to his wife and dedicated the trophy to her. Even when he was difficult to love, the singer mentioned that his wife has been tremendously supportive and helpful to him during their marriage. After 45 years of marriage, the couple continues to hold the record for being one of the longest celebrity couples still living. It was not just Denise who struggled with her health. Others did as well. The fact that Jackson had been diagnosed with Charcot-Marie-Tooth CMT was another revelation that he made in the year 2021. CMT is a neurological condition that is inherited and causes the muscles to become weaker. It is unfortunate that there is no treatment available for the ailment, and it appears to be progressing. According to the singer, The sickness had an effect on his balance and stride, leading him to stumble around even while performing on stage. He said this in 2 interviews. The fact that Jackson, his father's older sister, and his paternal grandmother had all been affected by this ailment is evidence that it was a genetic condition. Jackson was not the only person to have experienced this condition. To our great relief, the condition is not considered to be catastrophic. A supportive physical therapy program that assists with movement can be used to address the condition. Any impairments or abnormalities may be delayed as a result of this therapy. In addition, the condition has a minimal impact on the muscles that are responsible for controlling respiration. The fact that Jackson fought against this illness for almost a decade before he finally made the decision to talk about it is a fantastic example of how he does not readily disclose his personal struggles. There is a possibility that he would not have even mentioned it if he had not been bumbling around a lot when he was performing. Jackson stated that he wanted people to gain an understanding of the reason behind his stumble on stage. The reason he discussed his struggle with the degenerative condition is because of this. He would prefer that his followers not be confused about what is going on. While Denise has been going through all of this, she has been incredibly supportive and loving of her husband, just as he was there for her when she was fighting cancer. As Jackson was discovered discussing the illness, he has also made an effort to keep a positive attitude and retain a high degree of positivism. According to him, it was not fatal and would not cause him to die. Jackson and George Jones's relationship. The remarkable aspect of Alan Jackson's biography that might not have received as much attention is his friendship with George Jones, his hero. All of us have role models in our lives, and some of us are inspired by mentors or well-known individuals. Jackson had the good fortune to meet George Jones during his lifetime, who was his idol. Despite their age difference, the 2 guys did more than just meet. They grew close and developed a bond. Jones and Jackson were clearly from different eras in terms of age. Jackson was occupied with attempting to establish a music career, whereas G.O.J. had already put out over 50 albums and had roughly 10 #1 hits on national charts. Around 1989, Jackson appeared to be settling into his own groove. By the time the up-and-coming musician started to gain attention, George was in the midst of what could be considered a career decline. Despite this circumstance, Jackson continued to draw a lot of inspiration from George, who constantly supported and guided him on his path to fame. During their association, Jones and Jackson worked on various significant projects together. Despite the fact that it seemed they were from different eras, the song A Good Year for the Roses was among the most well-known of them. Jones originally published the song in 1970, but he recorded a new version with Jackson and released it in 1994 after getting to know him and developing a friendship with him. Following a period of stagnation, Jones's career resumed, and this time, the Country Music Awards requested that he play a reduced version of his song Choices. The performer declined, citing his inability to perform the entire song. In addition, he declined to go to the concert at all. But when he was watching the show at home, something very amazing happened. After taking the stage, Jackson sang a few lines from one of his songs. When he was finished, he abruptly started singing Jones's Choices chorus as well. Not only was the elderly singer taken aback by this performance as he watched on TV, but he was also so moved and impressed by his younger companion that he called him, expressed his gratitude, and expressed how proud he felt of him for that gesture. Ultimately, Jones and his song became even more well-known. Choices rose back up the charts a few months after the incident, and he went on to win the Grammy for Best Male Country Vocal Performance. It was so fantastic at the time that both artists' careers were flourishing. Notwithstanding their extreme age differences, the 2 singers had developed into close friends as evidenced by all of the occasions and deeds leading up to that time. Sadly, a legend in the country music industry passed away on April 26, 2013. George Jones was 81 when he passed away. Jackson went through a really trying time, and he eventually turned to social media to express his anguish over his friend's passing. On his Facebook page, he shared an old photo of himself and Jones along with the statement, "Heaven better get ready for some great country music." Although George had a reputation for being wild and crazy, I had been friends with him for 25 years. He had developed into a very decent man. Naturally, he will always be the best vocalist and interpreter of authentic country music. He continued to write. Never again will there be one. A few days later, Jackson gave a moving rendition of the Possum's 1980 hit song, He Stopped Loving Her Today, while holding back the tears at his friend's burial. The Grand Ole Pry hosted the event, and hundreds of fans could be seen crying as the performer gave the song his all. The veteran singer had given numerous emotional performances at the Grand Ole Pry during his lifetime, for fans and people everywhere. It was an emotional period. At the event, several well-known singers performed as well. Kid Rock, Vince Gill, Travis Tritt, and a plethora of other celebrities were present. Jackson was always talking about his old friends and the particular bond they enjoyed in interviews. Additionally, it was discovered that he had discussed how his friend continued to have a positive influence on his music career even after his passing. This was particularly evident in the song He Stopped Loving Her Today, which he claimed to be the most significant song of his career. Even though George passed away a number of years ago, Jackson continues to chat about and share images of his friend on social media. Even if it sounds like a lovely friendship, it's possible that the Jackson daughter's reaction was triggered by something else she knew about George and her father. Did Alan Jackson intend for us to notice only the friend-mentor dynamic between them? Or was there more to the relationship? Alan Jackson's daughter's secret. The moment has come to reveal all. Maddie, Jane, and Danny are Jackson's 3 daughters, as we previously stated. The eldest, Maddie, is a podcast host who tries to motivate her listeners by consistently sharing positive messages and encouraging them to see the light. Lemons on Friday. Trusting God Through My Greatest Heartbreak is Maddie's second book. Following in her mother's footsteps, she penned the heartfelt book following her husband's tragic death from a catastrophic brain injury, which occurred only weeks before their first wedding anniversary. Even though Lemons on Friday was inspired by a terrible tragedy, it brought optimism to Maddie and fulfilled one of her long-time ambitions. According to her, Jackson and Denise, her parents, wrote a heartfelt foreword for a later edition. After 5 years of being a widow, Maddie was fortunate enough to remarry. Once again, following in her parents' footsteps, she and her new husband settled in Nashville, where they are currently raising a family. Being a very vocal person, Maddie has spoken out about her father on multiple occasions. Following her nuptials, there was one such event, taking to social media. She shared a photo from her wedding and wrote a heartfelt tribute to Jackson, thanking him for his unwavering support and kindness. On another occasion, in honor of Father's Day, she shared a throwback photo of her dad and herself from their childhood. Afterward, she dedicated the caption to the selfless guy who sacrificed all for his kids. You are very loved by us. Now we come to the major revelation. Maddie and Connor's first child, a son named Wesley Jackson Smith, was born on June 2, 2024. Yeah, you read it correctly. The baby boy was named after Maddie's dad, Jackson, and Connor's dad, Wesley, according to an Instagram post by Maddie. What made the decision to name her son after the legendary artist who is Maddie's father all the more heartwarming was the circumstances surrounding it. The term "it is possible to experience grief and joy at the same time" refers to Maddie's thoughts about the loss of her first spouse and the birth of her son, which she had discussed earlier. Amidst all that turmoil, she still had the opportunity to honor her father by naming her child after him. The film gains even more poignancy when this reveals the depth of Jackson's daughter's love for him. In a society where success sometimes comes at the expense of family, this revelation is all the more unexpected and incredible. But here we have a modest legend who has become an icon in his daughter's eyes as much as the world's. The kid would have a long and fruitful life if he or she was anything like Jackson, the baby's namesake. According to Maddie's message, Jane, the second daughter of Michael Jackson, is very outspoken about her dad as well. She pays homage to her father on social media with heartfelt tweets on a regular basis. She expresses gratitude for her father, who she says encourages her to be strong and self-reliant. Jane also chose to honor her father by naming her kid after him. In case you were unaware, I am spending my 43rd wedding anniversary with our new grandchild, Jackson Alvy Bradshaw. Denise and I are taking to social media in 2022 to make this announcement. Currently, it is unclear which of Maddie and Jane Alley's sisters is more vocal about their father's generosity. We can't help but notice how much they adore him. Seeing a famous family support one another despite the weight of fame and money is the most heartwarming thing for viewers. For many other families, those two items do more harm than good. Danny, the last daughter of Jackson, is also involved. Along with her elder sisters and their father, Jackson, she appeared in the music video for Alan's song Drive in the early 2000s. Since Danny is the youngest, she may grow up to be just as outspoken about her dad as the rest of us. After hearing what Alan Jackson's children have said about their dad, what are your thoughts on the matter? What impact do you believe that has on the current perception of the legendary singer among fans and critics worldwide? Post a comment and tell us. Please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed the video. Please go on to the next video by clicking the button on your screen if you liked this one.